Ciaula discovers the moon. Ciaula discovers the moon is a tourist route, discovery or knowledge of a cultural heritage and the anthropological of the history of the mines in the province of Caltanissetta. Ciaula, Caruso Pirandello, Italian writer, is one of many that for bad luck is to get to work at the sulfur mines in the bowels of the earth, in the heat and in the dark, who was sold by their parents with the belief of rescue he dies in exchange for 100 pounds of lettuce. One less to feed and a good breath of oxygen to relieve the hunger pain. Ciaula had more of 30 years, but could also have 7 years, because Caruso would stay forever if he had not redeemed by the picconiere the price for his shoulder and his knees. There is a repetition of characters: picconera, capomastri, fucina, armature, acqualura, spisalura, always working to get sulfur, carcaruna, arditura, out to emerge from the fumes of Dante's Inferno, where the landscape is constantly changing face the missing continuous of genesi, where remains from the emptying of calcaroni and furnaces jail after casting yellow gold. And again, catastera, carretera, the first to amass in the yards, the seconds to bring them to the harbor of Porto Empedocle or Licata. The path Ciaula discovers the moon begins to Caltanissetta in the showcase of educational laboratory of mineralogy and paleontology institute Sebastian Mottura, which tells through the minerals the history of the Mediterranean Sea, the Sea of Tedite, which hallowed in the Supramioceanic period, the genesis of sulfur between chalk and evaporitic calcar. Going down to the Imera Valley, it follows the way of miners, still market shrine to reach the small castles of Gessolungo and Giungo Tominelli, which still storing between fields of genesi. Just downstream of the mine Gessolungo, you meet one of the most exciting paths, the cemetery of Carusi, a path of white crosses in memory of the many Carusi who lost their lives in those places at 6 in the morning of the 12th of November, 1881, as a result of the outbreak of a fire damp. Several miners perished. After 20 years of the disaster, we recovered 49 bodies, including 19 Carusi between 8 and 14 years old. 9 of these were forever nameless, and from a block of Sabucina stone was carved out a Caruso under the way of a Stirratore, his faithful pannier loads of stone, still steeping of sulfur, an icon in memory of all the Carusi miners. But the excitement is even stronger before the mouth of the tunnels, old 19th century, of the western flank of Mount Capara, near the town of San Cataldo, immersed magically between plants of eucalyptus and conifers, where the silence is interrupted by the call of the buzzard or by the rhythmic beat of the redwood picker. Here, the history of the Carusi and Picconieri, pigments, is fascinating because you can still take the steps in the section of shaft and between shreds of calcaroni, ovens, and gel, a priceless heritage which is told and lived in the respect of those who spat sulfur powder for years in search of bread. The path Ciaula discovers the moon ends at the Mount Ottavio on the outskirts of Montedoro over Solfara Naturello Socio with the remains of a quadrille of gel furnaces. It says, at the museum, the sulfur and sulfur miners of Montedoro Civic Ethno-Historical Collection of Testimonies, the story of sulfur through synopsis, pressure diorama, and some pages of Hamilton Kaiko. And at the end of the earth, you can climb up to the top of the mountain to watch the sky in the planetarium to discover the moon with one of the largest telescopes of Sicily. Ecstatic, he fell down on his load, in front of the hole. There is the moon. There was the moon. The Ciaula wept without knowing it, without waiting to, from great comfort, the great sweetness that he felt in having discovered there, where he swept out to heaven, the moon, which its broad veil of light, unaware of the mountains, the plants, the valley that lit up, unaware of him, even thought she was no longer afraid, no longer felt tired during the night, full of astonishment. Ciaula discovers the moon, wants to deliver to the visitors at least the stories of the many people who contributed with their patience and dedication, and above all, with their courage to grow the country, even they were as fragile as sulfur crystals before the acorn of Santa Barbara, which they demand every time they return to the open air.